Lollipop. Lollipop time.
Lollipop
Oh my God.
time.
We're so back.
I know.
Like, we were slightly back for a minute, but, like, we're so back now.
Y'all thought we were done. We're back better than ever.
Better than ever, with a lot of changes. I think it's been, what, a little over a year?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Becca.
And I'm Jared.
And this is Stop Lying to Yourself.
Wow, it's been a long time since we've said that.
Stop lying to yourself.
It's been a
been a
while.
year.
So, big old question, a big fat old question. What has changed in your life since the last episode, which was last Christmas, I believe?
Oh my gosh. So I've learned a lot when it comes to like my career and psychology because I'm in school. I'm about to start my internship to become a licensed professional counselor.
Yes, ma'am.
Slay. And I just feel a lot more confident in myself. I've really worked on like not people pleasing and having boundaries, which is very hard to do. I like to say I'm a people pleaser in recovery.
Yeah.
Because you're
yeah.
never going to be over that feeling, but
Right.
just allowing myself to like face my fears and sit in the discomfort of life, which is
Right.
really tough.
It is tough. I think actually a lot of people probably develop pretty unhealthy coping mechanisms in life in general because of trying to eliminate tension and, deal with that discomfort or get it to, or reduce it. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. And from what I've heard, we've hung out outside of this pod.
We've seen each other.
We've seen each other outside of the pod. It seems like your career in the psych field is going pretty well.
Yeah, I think just being a woman and kind of like it's still kind of like a caretaking role, but I feel like it's also science as well. Like your brain is involved. So I've really pushed myself to just change the narrative. Like I am smart, I am capable, and just like those affirmations every day. Like it's hard to sit with clients every day and work with them and just share their stories with them, especially like people's deepest, darkest fears. But then there's also something really lovely, like every opportunity to have with them. And so I genuinely love what I do. And I just try to avoid burnout, but I feel like that's impossible at times.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the huge challenge of life is how much can you stuff in it,
For real. 'Cause every day you want to live it up.
Yeah, like how much can you maximize your potential while at the same time not overwhelming yourself, not being overstimulated, because if you put too much on your plate, like you can never give equal attention to everything, and so everything is half-assed as opposed to just like being able to dedicate yourself 100% to a decent schedule.
100%. What about you?
What has changed in my life, you ask? So actually, when we first started the podcast, we said that it was from 2 psychology students. Becca was further along in school than I am. I am currently getting my bachelor's in psychology, and I actually have been in school for about 1.5 years now. Whereas beforehand, I was just about to start school. So I have a few psych classes under my belt, and it has been fascinating. Like,
Which one's your favorite class you've had?
I would say, honestly, the one I'm taking right now is the most interesting so far. It's a theory of personality. I really like learning about the different psychologists who kind of were game changers in that sense, because they built the foundations for a lot of the research that's been done now, a lot of the studies that have been new studies that have been dropped like singles. Other than that, so really getting in tune with school. I moved out into my own place, which we're actually sitting in right now. So I am in my own apartment, and I had just gotten a job at the ice rink, working with kids. And so I've been working as a figure skating coach for a little over 1 year now, and that has given me a lot of gifts as well. So I feel like we started the pod and my life was in a huge transitional period, and I was kind of almost talking as if I feel like I was talking in the future, and I was still stuck in my past a lot.
Yeah.
So I feel like I hadn't moved on from a lot of things, and I was still really hurt. Whereas I feel like the more that I go to therapy. I started therapy again as well. So the more that I go to therapy, the more that I, get more into my major and also learn how to work with children in a really efficient, successful way. I feel like I've matured a lot over the past year, which has been honestly relaxing for me mentally, because I feel like I've always been so ruled by my emotions. And so at that point, you're always kind of at mercy of yourself.
Right.
So it feels like now that my life has a bit more routine, stability, and like some sort of direction, it really feels like those big emotions never feel the need to come out as much or as often. So life has been really good. Life has gotten
I'm really
really
privileged
settled.
and happy for what I have in my life.
Same here.
It's easy to be ungrateful. Like, it's easy to just fall into the trap of like the negatives of life. And like, that's so wonderful. I'm glad we're both thriving.
I am too. And it's crazy because also age as well. I feel like since I was 18, I've felt ancient, but that's so young. And like even now is so young, and I always feel like I'm so old, but I really do feel like at this age, it's a turning point of kind of being like, okay, I could have been here for a hot minute. So like, it's really time to like be an adult. And my brain is ravenous for knowledge. And that's something I feel like I neglected for so long.
Same.
And so now that I'm constantly learning new things and garnering new experiences, I feel like my brain is happy. I'm a proactive brain. And I feel like it's pretty satisfactory. Life is pretty good.
I'm really happy for you.
I'm happy for you too.
When that part of your brain unlocks, as they say, like your neural pathways can be pretty stuck. They love to stay on the same road, but when you're able to like open up a different part of your mind, you're like, where the hell was this before? Like,
no, seriously. And it's crazy because like I was even reflecting on like the episodes in the past. So much has changed since then, but I also feel like at a certain point I was kind of talking out my butt. You know what I mean? Like in a lot of it, and I tend to ramble too. So that mixed with trauma and pain and a little lack of knowledge is, I think, a little annoying to listen to. So I feel like I'm a little less annoying to myself now.
You love yourself more.
Yeah. Like people say that you can't love someone else until you love yourself, and it sounds cliche, and there's obviously like a line and a gray area, but for the most part, that does ring true. Like I love myself, and so I'm able to set boundaries now. I talk to guys, and I'm not like, gnawing at the bars of my enclosure, trying to get their validation and attention. I kind of
you're not at people's feet. You see eye to eye. Like, we're all human. You're seeing people in a different perspective. When you do psychology, it's like you literally can't unsee certain things. Like I've told people in my same program, like the more you learn and the more you know, you're like, oh my God, I want to scream it to the world so everyone understands like this, like, if you're talking about cognitive dissonance or you're talking about like a specific thing, you're like, why doesn't everyone know this? Why aren't we talking about it?
Okay, it's so funny because I just last week, chapter 8 of my social psychology class was on cognitive dissonance. I have literally, I talk to my parents every day, my mom and my dad, and it's like, it's crazy how much a lot of this sounds like common sense, but it really on a clinical level applies to so much of life. It fills in all those little gaps that you're kind of like, well, yeah, duh. But then it really does define those like curves and edges, and it's like it clears up a lot of confusion, at least for me as a psych student. I feel like with myself, not just myself, but like I'm able to help out my family too. Like my family, they're not psych majors.
It feels so nice when you're like, I need to tell you this, like, because it's not on the forefront of your mind. Like you said, it's not like you wake up and you're like, cognitive dissonance is what's happening right now.
Just like, wait, like first thing in the morning, cognitive dissonance is calling my name.
My core belief right now, I'm waking up and my core belief is that I'm not meant to be out in this world. Like literally, it will change your life. Yeah. This podcast will change your life.
We're nice and cozied up, aren't we? God, if you wanted to take me out, you just could have said something. That actually brings up a really good topic that I thought both of us should talk about today, which is working with children, like all-encompassing in general, because we have they're different jobs for sure, because I'm a skating coach and I teach kids how to ice skate, which is very different than counseling, say, foster children. But there's a lot of the same principles I feel like might be similar with working with children. So I thought we would just go through like maybe start with your experience of like one of the biggest things you feel like you've learned, and then I'll go.
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about how this is definitely a controversial topic. I mean, the way that you parent your kid, the way you work with kids is always going to be slightly different. There's always going to be nuanced situations. So whatever we do talk about, like, take it with a grain of salt. You know, if it works for you, it works for you. But I would say the biggest thing I've learned is that we project a lot. Not only, I thought, you know, oh yeah, I've projected on friends and family, but we project on like the little ones a lot.
Oh my
We
God,
compare ourselves a lot
started.
as younger children to the current children in front of us. I see parents a lot being jealous of their kids, which is something I didn't expect.
Yeah. You see a lot of kids being saviors to their parents, and so their parents depend on them for their emotional well-being, which is also unhealthy.
Yes, like kids, I think there's a lot of misunderstandings with kids.
I think I pissed myself off with this topic because this is something I get genuinely upset about, because I see so many people I know personally go into having children for all of the wrong reasons, for very selfish reasons. Like and way too young, and it's people get the idea, they want this dream of having a baby, and I'm like, here's the thing, you're not just having a baby. That baby grows into an infant, then a toddler, then a young kid, and then a teenager, but they're not thinking that far into the future. And it's like, also too, the opportunities and resources that you can provide for said child. If you're living at home with your parents still, and you have a baby, it's like, it's a selfish reason to have a kid, because you're basically pseudo setting up your life. You have to set up the financial benefits for your kids, because money does give them opportunities and comfort and stability. Let's not talk about poverty is also such a silent killer. Poverty, if your biggest worry is surviving and paying the bills, you yourself as a parent, as an adult, you're not able to have hobbies and interests because all you're worrying about is paying the bills. And on top of that, you're not able to provide your children with their own hobbies and interests. And so you set them up for a pretty poor adulthood, because the job that I fell into now is because I grew up with the ability to be put into a lot of different sports and arts and stuff like that. And I have friends that are very close to me that have not had those same benefits all the time. And it's upsetting, because your interests are part of what makes you a distinguishable, identifiable human being. It's what makes you feel good about yourself. And I think that kids, they didn't ask to be born, they didn't ask to be brought into the world. And so if you're going to bring them in, you better have a good plan of how you're going to set them up for success.
And thinking about your child and giving them autonomy and giving them the space to be in whatever age and whatever emotion they're in. I think we do a lot of like trying to fix the situation. I find that with a lot of parents, like trying to immediately fix it. And then I talk to them and I'm like, listen, you're telling me that you want them to stop doing this. They don't want to stop doing this behavior. Like if a kid is lying, I think we see kids as bad. You're just a bad kid, and they're being labeled a lot. But I talk to my parent and I've said, like, how would you want your boss to be? How would you want your employer to be? Like, think about it like that and try to remove. I know it's so hard when you're parenting, like, to remove your personal opinion, but if you can try to like think about it from another perspective, because I think they get so lost in their everyday and like they're so stressed and putting that on their kid, and then they're also judging themselves a lot. So I I think we need a lot more parent training. I think parents should not be doing things without consultation, without support. These single moms out here, ooh, they struggling because it's like nobody's supporting them.
100%. And like it's like, not to say that everything has to be in a certain order, but you know, if you're messing around with a baby daddy and he's knocking you up and you're not even having the label of being, you know, of him being your boyfriend and you being his girlfriend, having a baby is not going to force him to marry you. What's going to happen is that he still is not going to want you and you're stuck with his kid.
Yeah.
And then it makes life harder for you, and it makes that's also one thing too, is like, if you don't set up your life well before you have children, you are also prone to being incredibly emotionally unstable, which creates a lot of PSD like responses in children, because you're more prone to anger, you're more prone to dissatisfaction. Like, the highs can be really high and then the lows are going to be really low. And when you're responsible for another individual, it's like, at the same time, you have to give them agency to live their life, and you can't create a mini you. But at the same time,
you cannot create a mini you.
But you have the responsibility to facilitate an environment that is conducive to improvement, change, and progress for your child. And you can't expect that if you are not also a part of that and complicit in that process.
Yeah. And trust the people that you're trusting with your kid. You know, like, if that person has been in this kid's life, like, I saw a video today where it was like a video of a home daycare, and the baby just started like walking towards the caregiver, and she was like, wow, amazing, like, great job. And it was lovely to see that, like, people like that really care for your kid. And so, like, when you can tell that, like, your therapist really cares about the kid, because I genuinely love every kid I have, like, even the hardest cases, even the most maladaptive behaviors, I'm like, I end up loving them more, because I'm just like, oh, I get it, I understand.
Right, because there's, I think within every person who's interested in psych and who wants to go into that field, there's always some sort of, there's like this craving or this hunger to understand people who are misunderstood on the outside. And so, yeah, like, some of the toughest people, or some of the people with some of the kids with the biggest emotions. I'll use my own personal example. Like I just said about facilitating an environment. I grew up in child entertainment, and I grew up around some pretty toxic, scary, authoritative figures when I was brought into it. And that conditions a response and promotes an environment of negativity, and you always feel like you can't misstep. So you don't try a lot of things. And it really wasn't until I've told my parents, I feel like I was in a huge cloud in the entire time I was in entertainment. I was so self-involved, and that's not my nature. My nature has always been focusing on other people. And so I think being conditioned to want so much for myself and not anybody else created, again, a lot of cognitive dissonance within my own brain. And I was always trying to do something to reduce that tension. And working with children, being given the opportunity to have this job, it was so retroactively healing for me, because when I saw these kids, I was like, oh my God, I'm seeing myself. Because for the first time, I'm the authority that these kids look up to at a certain point in their life. So I've been labeled as like the good cop, you know, good cop, bad cop at my job, because I simply can't be overly strict with children, because it's so important for me to facilitate a positive, healthy environment to allow them to express themselves. Even the little boys. I mean, I can go into talking about gender roles and stereotypes for about 5 million hours. But even like, I love when little boys are in an environment and they're comfortable enough to express affection, physical affection. And I never like take them off me and say, no, you don't do that. Because it's important to be in touch with that part of you. It's so important to foster an environment where not only young boys, but kids in general can express themselves, because when you don't allow that to happen at its fullest capacity, you're stifling their creativity, you're stifling their curiosity. There are so many neural pathways being formed at that age that if you if you are irresponsible with the forming of those, you're going to be dealing with those 10 years down the line. And so, I mean, that part of their life is so vital to foster as much individuality and embracing who they are at their core.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going to keep rambling, but I think you get the gist.
Yeah, like I haven't seen it work well talking with adult males, like being told growing up that, you know, you just need to like be a man or man up, or we're going to have a man talk. Any of those three, any person I've talked to with that kind of like mentality
never bodes well.
Never bodes well, and all, yeah, like is literally like not, does not enjoy their life and judges themselves a lot and puts a lot of pressure on themselves. And it's just, I haven't seen it work well.
Yeah.
And we know that we need to foster that like kind of environment. And if it's not going to happen at home, like, and parents start talking to you, why at home they have all these behaviors, but at school, you know, they seem to be doing well, or at ice skating, they're like, they don't want to leave. It's like,
right.
Because I just give them the space, because they can have the spotlight. Like
right.
They can be loved and seen and without judgment.
Yeah. And there's different coaching styles, and not even just in coaching, but like any position that deals with children. There's different styles of dealing with kids, you know, many different ones.
And we kind of have a humanistic, person-centered approach, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the militaristic approach does not work for me. Yeah, I will say a lot of this isn't. I mean, this is kind of a subtopic of it, but I feel like a lot of adults don't have patience for children. Yeah. I feel like they don't view children as much of whole people as what they really are. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like they view them as like subsets of either their parents or just adult society in general. And it's like the people you should kind of lose your patience with are other adults, because adults should know better. Kids don't know better. Yeah. They are learning that right now. And so
it's their first time experiencing things in the world. Exactly.
And the mishandling of that experience for them, it's like that's going to do nothing but instill guilt in you as an adult, and it's going to make you feel worse about yourself. And that's something I will never understand. And I didn't know that was a quality in me until I started working with kids, is that my patience for them, it never runs thin. It never runs thin, because kids have a purity and a joy to them that gets so taken away from adult life. And I would say that they
live in the present. I think adults actually live in the past and the future way more than kids do.
That is such a good point. That is such a good point.
Like literally, I'm with it. Like when I was babysitting a kid, I just remember being outside and she's just like so excited about jumping into the pool with different, you know, like going backwards and going forwards. And what if I throw in this and go dive for it? And they'll do it 100 times. And you're like, okay, isn't this boring you? And they could just do it all day. And it's just like, at some point we were like, okay, you need to stop and get inside. Like we're the ones who stopped it. Like, and it's like at some point, I don't know where, even for myself, like where that childhood nature just disappeared. But I feel like it was like thrown in my face, like slapped in my face, like you're an adult. It's like, okay, why does being an adult have to be so serious? Like
100%. I mean, I think a lot of people, and this goes hand in hand, because I was thinking about the topic of masculinity. This goes hand in hand with adulthood too. I think a lot of people perform the outside actions that are supposed to show that you are a man or you're an adult without actually understanding what it means to be a man or be an adult.
Right.
Like, for example, if you like being a man, a lot of people think it's that you're handy, or you're very physical, or you're aggressive, or you don't cry a lot. When the truth is I think, and this is a personal opinion of mine, I think that what it means to be a man is to have integrity. There's a side of masculinity that isn't
to be
toxic.
Kind. How about to be a kind human?
To be kind, to be confident, to be giving. And the thing is that I always had a problem with this growing up, because I was like, I feel like what it really means to be a man is actually just to be a good person.
Right. Like holding
Like,
the door open for someone.
exactly.
I understand what people mean when they say that. Like, yeah, it is nice to offer to pump someone's gas. But it's also like, that also goes with the idea that women can't do that. That's why we started doing that.
Right.
And so like, it's totally fine to do that. But if they say no, we don't need to force, no, I'm going to pump your gas. Like,
Yeah.
just like what? Like,
Yeah.
just say like, okay, that's fine then. I offered. Like
Right.
offering nice things, being a kind person. But no one ever said to me, like, I'm developing you into a woman. You know how weird that would sound? Like if my
Yeah.
dad told me that, like I would be
Yeah.
like, red flags.
Yeah.
Like I need a therapist stat. But like
Yeah.
it's normal to tell a little boy that you're making him into a man. It's like,
But I also think too, I mean, you grew up in the South, right?
yeah, I grew up here in Houston.
Yeah. So I'm not used to Southern culture, but coming from California, it's California and Texas are like literally water and oil. They both think that each other is like the dumbest state in the planet. But what I've noticed too is like the patriarchy is such a buzzword, but like the patriarchy, it's like men promote it and keep it going, but at the same time I've seen so many women who also enable it too, because they're so
Yeah.
scared of what that umbrella of patriarchy, they don't know what it's going to be like if that is taken away. So I've seen a lot of moms, I've seen a lot of girlfriends, I've seen a lot of wives promote such toxic expectations and standards because they want a dad. And I'm like, this is another individual in the same way. Like, true equality means treating each other regardless of gender stereotypes and roles like human beings.
Yeah.
With equal capacity to have emotion, with equal capacity to take care of each other. Like, and with equal
To
capacity
do the chores or pay the bills or
and taking care of the kids equally. Like, that's not just a mother's job, that's also a father's job.
splitting the mental load. That's a big thing I hear a lot is like women, we still have the mental load. We still have to do the planning and things like that, which I think is changing. I think people are more open to it.
Yeah.
I think we're more open. We just haven't applied it yet a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen people more open, like, yeah, I like feminism. You know, I like it.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to like the everyday, like unlearning patterns and things like that, it takes time.
It takes a ton of time.
But
And-
also I'm open because, you know, my relationship, I've been in a relationship for 4 years now, and I'm open to also being patient with my partner to be
Right.
like, you didn't know this, you know, or this is different. You know, it's okay for things to be different. It's okay for like us to both want to be there. And as long as we both have the intention to do so and we both try, like that's the important part, rather than putting like so much pressure the same way that you would put a pressure on a kid or put pressure on yourself again.
Yeah.
So I think, that's a whole topic in itself.
Well, I brought it is a whole topic, and we kind of went on like a little sub tangent. But I brought that example up because you were talking about adulthood. I feel like a lot of people have material signifiers of what it means to be an adult, when the truth is being an adult means becoming mentally mature. It's
True. We don't talk about that.
We don't talk
We're not
about
like,
that at
oh,
all.
time to get emotionally intelligent.
No, exactly. Like,
We should though.
becoming emotionally intelligent, becoming mentally mature, that is what it means to become an adult. It's learning that everything has balance. When I used to be so opinionated, and I still have strong opinions, but they're more rooted in a world, like a well-roundedness, a worldliness. Anytime I meet someone who is too biased, I'm like, there's not enough self-examination going on here, because a lot of people
You don't reflect enough. I feel like I reflect a lot, but then I'm like, ooh, I thought everyone did, like genuinely.
yeah. Well, and the thing is too is like the stuff that like I'm weaponizing right now, all of us have a little bit of that in us.
Yeah.
We're always going to have a little bit of bias. Therapists, you know, I want to go into psychiatry. That's my ultimate goal. But different psychologists, like my parents are going to psychologists, but looking at my parents' therapists, it's, you know, obviously because I have conversations with them about what they've talked about, and I have conversations with them as well. Each therapist's perspective is so different, and I think that's what's so beautiful about talking and having these discussions with each other, because each therapist, it's a base level set of information, and they, you know, have been therapists for several decades. But it's like each person has a little bit of bias, a little bit of projection, and sometimes that's not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
My therapist is 79. He just turned 79. He's a straight man. He grew up here. But I remember when I first started going, I was like, honestly, I don't think I want somebody who is almost has a similar lifestyle and life experience to me, because I enjoy different perspectives, and a lot of the times I get it's such an echo chamber up here that I need a fresh
Echo
perspective.
chamber, we're bringing it back
Again. I love that freaking word, apparently. But yeah, I feel like it gets so echoey up here, and sometimes I need someone to come in and give me a whole another perspective, and that's healthy for me. Whereas with my dad, his therapist has grown up almost exactly the same way, and that's healthy for him, and same for my mom.
to be affirmed for him. Someone who can affirm him.
Right.
And I totally agree. And I feel like at different stages, you need different types of people. Like you may need more like solution based. Like maybe you're trying to like figure out things in life and like your career. Like, yeah, you may need a career counselor. But then there's another time going through trauma, you need trauma focus. Like I genuinely think the interventions are going to be different. And yeah, bias, I don't even tell people bias won't exist. Bias will exist. What we going to do about it?
Exactly.
You know?
And
what are we going to do about it?
Right. And it's like as going into psych, you're not striving for moral perfection, because that'll never happen. It's more so, like you said, a humanistic approach, if I'm interpreting that right.
Yeah.
But like taking a more humanistic approach of like everybody has the same universal set of like psyches, and people deal with experiences in their environment differently, and it's all a matter of figuring out why you do the things you do, why you think the way you think, and whether it's been detrimental to you. I feel like people get caught up in a lot of good or bad or right or wrong.
It's like, how is it impacting you specifically?
Yeah.
Like people will go in therapy a lot and they're talking about other people most of the time, and you're like, so you've talked about this person a lot, and like, what is it about that person? Or I think I asked a friend the other day, I said, so how come you choose these same people every time? You know? And they're like, huh? Like, I feel like those are the best questions that I get on the other side of the couch, where they ask something and I really have to actually think about it. Like it's not quick with the response. That means that's something you haven't really reflected on. And so, like, yeah, I agree. Everyone's going to have a different approach. Like, shop for your therapist for sure. Make sure you find someone that works for you. And, like, don't believe that your therapist is, because I've done this before, it knows everything, that they're God, you know?
Yeah. Well, and we've kind of transitioned from talking about working with kids to talking about adulthood, but to wrap around to the responsibility that I feel as, you know, an adult who has some sort of say over a kid's weekend. You know what I mean? I see these kids every weekend for, 4 weeks of a month. And so
they're thinking, do I look forward to seeing Jared or not?
Exactly.
Like, I'm excited to see Mr. Jared and play games.
Exactly. But, and also too, like something I think about is like when I was younger and I was in acting, the itinerary and the expectations and standards were so serious to me at the time, because that's all I knew. And a lot of the times, I've hopped around into different, environments in my life as an adult. So for me, I'm like, really none of this is that serious. And you just got to conform and adapt to the environment and just do a good job.
Oh my God, I feel the same way. Because some days I wake up, I have so much pressure, and then I leave and I'm like, okay, that wasn't that hard.
It's like me when I go get my blood drawn. I'm always like,
oh my God, I'm always dreading it so bad.
I don't want to get my blood drawn. And then I go there. I literally, the last time I got my blood drawn, they put the needle in and I was like, girl, I'm so drama, because this is not that bad. I do this every time.
The anticipation anxiety is huge.
Yeah.
Even for those kids.
Right. So to connect back to that, I have to remind myself sometimes that I'm like, oh, right now, like ice skating is a lot of these kids' lives. Yeah. And so when they're looking to me and being like, was that good enough? Like, would that pass? In my head, I'm thinking all of these skills will come with time. Aww. and you have to let yourself enjoy them and just repeat them over and over, because skating is a lot of repetition. It really doesn't matter how good you are within a semester. It's how much you practice it and get your body used to it. But I have to keep in mind that, like, the way that kids see the world is so black and white, and as an adult, you really have to facilitate an environment that juggles between, there are blacks and whites in life, but then there's a huge gray area, and you have to kind of facilitate an environment that allows them to kind of toggle back and forth and experience the two and kind of form their own opinions about it.
I was thinking about that too, literally today, how there's some things that are right and wrong. Like, there are morals and values.
Yes.
But then there's other things that we could definitely, like, open up and adapt to.
100%.
But you're teaching kids resilience. It's not about, like, how well you did it. It's about, did you get back up after you fell down? Genuinely, not even, like, metaphorically. Like, in skating, like, physically. Did you get up?
And you know what's hilarious is that I said this a year and a half ago when we started this podcast, and it still rings true. Skating saved my life. That... Actually, this connects to a question that we got from a viewer. Would you like to say the question from the viewer?
Actually. So, thank you, Sunny.
Thank you, Sunny.
We want to hear from you. I love how I'm kind of like a salesperson today.
We do. We want to hear from you. But not even like a modern salesperson. It's like, that's what like a newspaper clipping from the 40s would say.
I know. We want to hear from you.
Call our office at 940-153-6599.
I think actually HR has definitely sent something like that, like with their surveys. We want to hear
Really?
from you. Yeah. But Sunny, thank you.
Thank you, Sunny.
We will continue to ask you guys to ask us the questions, because we're not here just to blabber around. I mean, we having fun, but we're also here to be a safe space, number one. That's so you can listen and be like, oh my God, me too. But then also we can learn more from others. We can learn from people's experiences. So we do want to hear that. The question is, how do you spend quality time with yourself? And they said they needed a little bit more advice about that.
I'm going to start with a personal anecdote because I know so much about this question. To give some context, I was incredibly, incredibly reliant on what other people thought of me and how people perceived me for a very long time. I've always had a strong personality, but that doesn't necessarily mean I had a genuine strong sense of self. When I got out of my relationship, which was horrid, don't need to talk about it, it was very codependent. One of the things that really saved me from suicide was figure skating, and a lot of it was because it was a space that had started on my own. Nobody came inside of that space, and it was something that was mine. So how you spend quality time with yourself is finding things that distinguish you as a person, finding interests, finding hobbies, that when someone says, how would you describe your friend so-and-so, so-and-so being you, they would have things that would, separate you from your average Joe. Whether that be crocheting or playing golf, you know what I mean? But skating is paralleled physically and metaphorically with my life so heavily, as far as like you just said, physically getting up after falling so many times. That is such an insane metaphor for resilience in life, period. You learn how to fall on your ass, hurt yourself, be really hurt, and then get back up and push through the pain. Emotionally, that applies the same.
Oh yeah. I've had so many times where I just bawled my eyes out and was like, well, it's time to go to my therapy session. And I thought, oh my God, I can't handle this. If I can't emotionally take care of myself, how can I do it with someone else? And then I was like, but the session's not about me. The session doesn't require, it requires a level of emotional awareness, but it doesn't require my own emotions. So I have to remind myself when that happens. And whenever it comes to quality time, I feel I think they call it atomic habits, but actually this was coined by Bridget Schult. Okay, Bridget Schult talks about time confetti, which are small, fragmented pockets of time in our days that are often filled with distractions or inconsequential tasks rather than being used for meaningful activities or relaxation.
I love that term. I've never heard that.
Yes.
Thank you, Bridget Schultz.
Thanks, Bridget.
Love you, girl. Thanks,
It
Bridget.
makes it sound like a lot more fun when you're like, confetti.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's time to party. So instead, because I feel like there's like a lot of, we say it all the time. Oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. Those are like my top phrases I feel like everyone has said all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that stops us. That stops us and halts us from being able to be open-minded. And I tell myself, I have an opportunity today to have 5 minutes to focus on myself, or 10 minutes to like tell someone, hey, can I just rant to you about how I'm feeling? Because for me, talk therapy, love that. That works for me. Some people that does not work for. But I think I tell myself every day to try to do something new. What can I do today that I didn't do yesterday? Or how can I get one step closer to the person I want to be today? And those kind of reflective questions.
Right. And that's something as adult, to go back to like adult life, adulthood, I think the reason why a lot of joy, purity, experimentation gets taken out of adulthood is because we're promoted, especially in a capitalist society where so much of your responsibility to take care of yourself is on you. Yeah. You're promoted to think about survival and think about, this sounds so nihilistic, like conforming to the system. I'm trying to find a term for that in a less like extreme way, but I think you understand what I mean. We're so conditioned to think you have to have all these requirements to set up your life as an adult. People forget that you're still supposed to foster like childlike wonder as an adult your entire life. Like
pretty much your inner child. Yeah,
you're supposed to always be learning and growing and putting yourself in new situations so that you can, become more knowledgeable. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Power. That connects to something I was going to say. Last skating example. The thing that skating has given me the most is that no relationship, no class, no et cetera, gives me a feeling more powerful than jumping in the air, coming down, and landing. That alone is such a distinguishable feeling. And that confirms and assures that I will always have some sort of quality time with myself because there's no other feeling that matches that feeling. So finding something that brings about an unmatched emotion, I think is a good way of assuring that you will always have that time with yourself and no one else can replace it, because no man can replace that feeling.
It's your spark.
It's like it's something that gives life an oomph.
Your flame, your purpose flame.
Exactly.
I agree, because that's the same for me. I mean, that moment you describe is me talking with a client, and they come into the session and they're like, I did what you told me, Miss Rebecca, and it worked, and I feel good about this. And like, I just get so excited with them. Yes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, it's not even just that I taught you that, but that like they turned it into something that worked for them, and that makes me so happy for them.
Oh, you bringing that up circles back around to my experience with kids too. There is a feeling that I have gained that is so unique this year to the rest of my life is the joy I get from seeing somebody go from thinking, I don't think I can do this, to finally doing it. Yes. Like if it's a physical skill or an element on the ice, when someone says, I don't know about that, and then they do it for the first time, the joy.
And they look at you?
Yes, because they realize that they did it. It's such a joyful feeling. And again, that's another part of my life that no relationship, no man can give me, because I have compartmentalized that, and I have designated that spot in my life for just that feeling. And I'm not relying on somebody else to give me that.
So basically our answer to that question is like finding your joy.
Yeah, and also
find the little moments of time where you can find that joy.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have the joy, set time aside, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long, to say I'm either going to do something that I think may bring me joy, or I'm going to think about something that reminds me of the joy I already have.
Exactly. And kind of like what you said with time confetti, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put all of your feelings of validation into one person.
Oh my gosh, because we do that. Or
We
work.
do that a lot.
Or we
Like you were
generalize
talking about with-
everything. It's like, my work
Yes.
sucks, so I suck. It's like, huh.
So that's not quite true. That's not
It's like,
quite
what
it.
about Jared? Your one friend that you could call and talk to.
Exactly.
That you haven't in months.
Exactly.
There's opportunity. There's always an opportunity. There's always an opportunity to do that stuff without judgment. To be like, I can be happy right now that I did that with a kid, and sit with the feeling of excitement, because we dread sitting in the feelings of just like
We do.
the everyday life and the sad parts that are happening. But what if we allowed ourselves to be excited about something? What if we allowed ourselves to be like, what worked well today? What was great today?
And a lot of this, because this encompasses like every topic we've talked about tonight, is a lot of projection, like you said earlier about parents on their kids. It comes from a fear of the unknown. So much of projection and insecurity comes from a fear of anything changing. And as far as
or being like it was before, like repeating patterns. I feel like I do that a lot.
And then spending quality time with yourself. A common theme of all of this, at least for my personal answer, is finding things in your life that give you agency, that give you power over yourself, and realizing it's, of course, important to have community and support around you. You absolutely need that. That's necessary. One of the biggest things that I've taken away from life as of now is there were so many things that I was looking for in other people that I did not realize I could give myself. You got to work on liking yourself, doing things that promote confidence. And a lot of the times, like for me, it was a physical activity that promoted me feeling better about myself. The better I felt in that sport, the more that it domino affected everything else. And so I think it's important to start there as a child, as a parent, as an adult parenting a child, and just as an individual. It's absolutely vital to be able to self-provide emotionally.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I think it's empowering. Anything that can be empowering. That feeling of like,
Yes,
I got up and I did that. And who's around? Ain't no one. It was by myself.
Exactly.
So doing those things, not only reminding yourself you can do it on your own, but when you do it, is an act of self-love. I always tell people doing those things is an act of self-love. And it's reminding yourself, it's basically confirming the positive things about yourself. If you go and do the things that you've always wanted to do. And don't wait. That's the big thing I tell myself. Don't wait. You want to do a podcast? Start it tomorrow. I don't care how many people have done a podcast. Yours is going to be just a little bit different, you know?
Yeah. And also too, it's like there was a point in time where I could not sleep by myself. Like I had so much anxiety going to sleep, and I would avoid going to bed because I just could not do it. Now I'm so comfortable going to bed alone.
You're like, all this space.
Exactly. And then I wake up, and it's like, it's something where I don't feel like I'm missing out on somebody else being in my sleeping space.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent. And I think that is a beautiful spot to be in life, is being indifferent towards things that hurt you and maximizing your strengths and the things that make you feel powerful.
And when you see that light is dimming, reach out to your community, reach out to your therapist, and remember who the fuck you are. You know what I mean?
And also, those people will notice. The people who love and care about you. It's so easy to get stuck into a bubble. Reach out to your friends if you feel like things are starting to feel wrong, because they can also see it as well. And that's the importance of support and community.
Yeah.
But you can't get to a place of feeling powerful within yourself unless you stop lying to yourself. Period.
Stop lying to yourself.